I'm joined today by Navy veteran Nick Mottern, who's coordinator of knowdrones.com. That's K-N-O-W drones.com, which is an information and organizing center devoted to stopping drone surveillance and drone attacks. It's so great to have you on, Nick. Talk to me about how you first got interested in this topic of drones.
Well, in 2010, I wrote an article for Truth Out about a man named Stephen Loranger, who was the head of ITT Corporation, calling him a war profiteer because ITT had a military contracting wing, and in that wing, they manufactured a variety of hardware, including missile release, bomb release systems for Reaper and Predator drones. And so I wrote an article, two parts, had some good responses, but I really wasn't satisfied. And I thought perhaps I should build a replica of the Reaper drone and hold a protest in the hometown of Stephen Loranger, which is Greenwich, Connecticut, very wealthy community. And we had about 45 or 50 people in the protest, took the drone and marched down the main street with it. And that weekend, the local paper ran quite a large article about it, even spoke of Mr. Loranger as a war profiteer. And the drone model attracted a lot of attention, but it also, as I was working on it, began to understand what a profound and profoundly destructive weapon this is on a lot of different levels. And I decided to learn more about it and do more organizing. People had already been arrested around this out in Nevada at Creech Air Force Base. People were beginning to protest drone attacks at Hancock Air Base in upstate New York. So I started working with these people, and this evolved into doing networking, and we've been running counter drone advertising on television stations near drone operation centers, and we're hoping to fund an ad in Air Force Times speaking directly to drone operators, asking them to refuse to fly.
Yeah, and let's talk about that a little bit, because you've taken an interesting approach, which is you've referenced that while, of course, there are significant consequences for members of the military for disobeying orders, you actually argue that because certain applications of drones or certain drone usage violates international law in your eyes, that actually there's a completely other sort of framework under which we could see drone operators utilizing drones, and that there may actually be a sort of illegality to the usage of drones, at least in certain cases. Is that right?
Well, I would say universally, military drones are violating international law and principles of human rights.
Specifically how?
And number one, the whole premise and the basis for drone war is surveillance, 24/7 surveillance of populations and individuals, which is a profound violation of their right to privacy, and particularly in other countries. And so this is the foundation for drone war. It's against international law and against the UN Declaration of Human Rights. And then on top of it, of course, we have killing done selectively and totally without due process, which is also a violation of international law and domestic law. We have, I guess you say, war crimes laws in the United States that make assassination illegal. And right now, the United States is taking the legal position that people are, want to cause harm to the United States, and we have a right to go wherever we want and kill them, which is basically just vigilantism as an official policy, totally illegal, and opening the door for this kind of behavior to spread, which it certainly will. So the privacy violations, and then on top of it, the killing, make this kind of behavior totally unacceptable legally and morally.
So let's separate, if we can, for a second, the sort of discussions of American policy around drones and your message directly to current or potential drone operators. As you concede, there is certainly a significant risk, right, to drone operators refusing orders with regard to drones. It's certainly an action which would put their military careers at risk, and I'm sure you recognize that.
Yes, absolutely. This would probably end up with some people actually serving jail time if they refused these orders. But at the same time, we all do have a soul, and we are in some ways imprisoned by our soul, just as we would be in our conscience, just as we would be in a jail. And many people who do what they believe is right may be incarcerated, but they're free within their soul, whereas other people take orders to do things that are wrong and are forever imprisoned by their conscience and their soul and tormented by that. And we have evidence that there are, a number of people who have been involved and who are involved in drone operations, suffering from PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
Tormented by, what some people have called moral injury. And of course, on the other end of it, there are people who have been slaughtered without any option of, presenting their side of the case, going to court. And if we see in the United States an analogy to this, we see certain police officers taking it into their hands to summarily kill Black people. Now, other people, not only Black people get killed, but primarily Black people get killed. And the U.S., following this policy overseas, can hardly be surprised if, police and other, representatives of what is called law enforcement undertake to do the same thing.
So Nick, let me pose a sort of devil's advocate question for you. And I ask this not really having a particular position on it myself, in the sense that I'm still sort of exploring this. There is the argument often made that if we didn't carry out attacks or surveillance via drone, they would still be carried out some other way, likely a way that would put even more individuals at physical risk, whether it be the American soldiers or operatives or those on the receiving end of either surveillance or attacks. So evaluate that sort of argument and tell me whether you think it's at all valid. The idea that, listen, whether we use drones or not, these actions are going to be done. Do we want them done in a way that limits the number of American and other deaths, or do we want to do it in a way that puts more people at risk? Is that at all an argument that resonates with you?
Well, I would say that let's compare drone warfare to torture.
Right.
All right. Now, there are many people who believe that regardless of what supposed benefits there are to torture in terms of intelligence gathering or, predictive, information about attacks, that this is unacceptable behavior.
Sure.
Because it violates certain basic principles that have been laid down in law for the reason of not only protecting people, but creating a situation that's predictable and tends toward peacefulness. Now, it's not true that you have to go, and nor do you have the right to go into someone else's country with a commando team, find certain individuals and kill them. And whether drones help you do that or not is not the point. The point is that it's illegal behavior. And this is the fundamental thing that needs to be understood. Now, you jump back one level to the practical aspect of this. What you have with drone surveillance and attacks is not only a killing of certain individuals, but the terrorization of whole populations who are living in the neighborhoods and the regions where these targeted people exist. So if you are undertaking a behavior that is terrorizing and enraging tens of thousands of people, you have to anticipate that they will strike back, and they are striking back. And this is something that, because of a certain kind of superiority in thinking, and I would say in a certain way, white supremacist thinking, is that these people are seen as powerless. What harm could they do to us? But when they do something to us, then they're considered to be demons and devils. And this kind of thinking can only lead to more and more bloodshed and I would say, political and economic chaos.
All right. It is a very complex issue, and people can find out more on the website knowdrones.com. That's KNOW drones.com. We've been speaking with Navy veteran Nick Mottern. Thanks so much for talking to us about this.